Hi guys, what is going on, and welcome back to another video on Conqueror's Blade. So just before we get into today's video, I'm actually going live right now over on Twitch with a preview of Season 5. So yeah, there'll be a link down in the description, down in the comments, so as soon as this video goes live, effectively I'll be live now over on Twitch. So head on over, you can kind of see some of the new Season 5 stuff, see the new grenade units, the flamethrower units, as well as the two upgraded, the spear sergeants and the men-at-arms. Take a look what changes we can expect, see the battle pass and kind of all that good stuff. So yeah, do pop on over, say hello, ask any questions you want to see about new Season 5 stuff, and I can kind of show you through all the interface. So what are these Vassal Longbows all about? I think it's probably not unreasonable to say that, you know, if you've been with this channel for any sort of length of time, I'm not much of a range unit player. I don't really enjoy them that much. I don't tend to play them very often, which is probably why I don't review them all very often, or don't kind of look at them very often. I very briefly touched on the longbows like a year ago or something, with like only half leveled. It wasn't exactly the greatest example of a video ever. So, you know, since then we've kind of done the Namkhans, we've done the Imperials, we've kind of done the Prefecture Guard, looked at a few other archer units, and the longbows are kind of one of those last top tier archers that a lot of people use for a variety of reasons that we haven't really covered, so I kind of wanted to take a look at them. Now, one of the main reasons I don't really enjoy bows is because, one, I'm a melee hero, so I don't think it really fits my class very well, but I also find that they all tend to play quite similarly. They all just, hey, you sort of sit at the back, 80 metres away, and just sort of fire into a cluster of enemies, and that's kind of it. But I find the longbows actually have so far proved to be the exception to this rule, and actually feel quite unique in their playstyle. We're just a smidge off max level, but you're only actually getting a little bit of extra health, so it's not that important. They play quite differently because they've got some very unique characteristics that no other archers have. Most importantly, their range. They're by far the longest range archer unit in the game. At 116 metres, it feels like a really long way, and that's a really important attribute they have. On top of that, they have one of the most unique abilities, Overwatch. Unit shoots at enemies around the designated area. Now this is really important because this is vastly different. If we go to, say, where the Imperials, and go and have a look, here they just have an attack area. Now the difference is this attack area on Imperials, they just shoot at a designated spot, it even says so. Whereas when we go to the longbows, they don't shoot at a designated spot, they shoot at a target near the nearest enemy to your designated area. And that means they actually aim. They don't just shoot into a circle and, you know, if there's enemies in there they get hit, they actually aim at the enemies next to the circle. So this means it's much better at shooting units just over the wall, that, you know, are kind of a little bit too far away, or over a hedge, or hiding somewhere. These guys will still aim and shoot at them, and we'll see that a little bit later on in the battle. So that makes for a really nice ability, and when you combine that with the range, it makes them really quite effective. On top of that, they do actually have some pretty decent stats. The 1870 piercing damage, obviously really high. The piercing armor penetration here is 1650 almost, but that is slightly artificially raised because if we go over to the unit tree and have a look, you'll see that I've got 3 points now in each of these. The bottom one, that's basically a 15% bonus to piercing penetration. Actually, kind of some, if you've unlocked everything and you've got spare honor, these are some pretty good ones actually. That 5% piercing increase is actually quite a lot per level. It's quite a lot to increase. And the top one here is the rate of fire. Because one thing you'll find about these longbows is that their rate of fire is really very, very slow. It actually gets slower on the final veterancy node, but as a result you get increased accuracy, and it is worth it. So that low rate of fire means that actually their damage per second is actually quite low. You know, if you compare this to a Namkhan, probably at point blank range, the Namkhans will probably win because their damage is actually really high. But these guys are about being able to pick off at distance. But that low rate of fire means when you're shooting at fairly armoured units, you can actually do a chunk of damage, but it can be pretty hard to get kills sometimes because you know, you're not putting out a great amount of damage in a very short period of time. It's over quite a long period of time, and most units move off, move away, get to cover by the time you do that. So it's not all that effective, at least securing kills in that sort of situation. I find the skill that these longbows excel at unbelievably is dealing with enemy archers. Because, one, you can almost always outrange the enemy archers. And two, it's almost one arrow, one kill with these guys. Because they've got that really nice high damage and the good penetration, it means basically every hit on an enemy archer is a kill normally, or certainly two. You know, and you can shoot at Namkhans and wipe out a unit of Namkhans really very quickly. And that's kind of a really nice ability to have. So anyway, I think I've probably waffled enough. Obviously, top veterancy line is really the only option. Nothing along the bottom really is significant enough to kind of make it worthwhile. Obviously getting the maximum range increases along here, which is really significant. You get that 30% range increase along there, as well as the extra armor penetration, bit of a crit value, and the extra ammo you get here, which is kind of nice. So yeah, definitely top line. I'm just going to grab this extra little bit of health on the next one, but they're still always going to be fairly fragile, pretty low hit points, and no real defensive stats, so they do go down fast when things go wrong. And at 250 leadership, that is a question that is worth asking, is it worth the risk? One mistake and you're dead, and that's a lot of leadership to lose in a battle. So let's hop into the fight, see how we've been getting on. I think another problem I've always had with these Archer videos is I feel like they're a little bit dull. I mean, we're just going to sit through like 15 minutes now of me stood at the back shooting at some enemies. So I hope you got a cup of tea or a pint of beer or something if you're going to need it. But anyway, we are on Conqueror City. I'm kind of enjoying this new map for the Longbows. Not a new map, it's been in previous seasons, and obviously it's on the Territory Wars campaign map, but they've obviously just added it in for the end of the season. And yeah, it works quite well for Vassal Longbows because there's some pretty long distances involved. So a little bit of an interesting start, well, not actually a very interesting start. They kick off, quite quickly seize A. As always, it's almost pointless defending A on this map, and start to rush this gateway. Looks like our allies did a good job of getting the gateway closed in time, and if you noticed, I was fairly quick on the trebs, and we actually lost 2 units unfortunately, but compared to our guy who stood next to us, who basically lost his whole squad, we didn't do too badly. So yeah, trying to watch out for trebs with these Longbows is almost a continuous thing, because everyone wants to trib you. I mean, in any arch unit, I mean, I do the same when I'm playing with my sword units. So, yeah, trebs are a real problem, and it's so easy to lose a full stack, like a full 250 leadership unit. If I hadn't have seen that treb, I'd be the unit gone, and I'd have got, what, 3 kills or something. So, it's very easy to do very badly with these as a unit. But anyway, as the gate got closed, I think a lot of the guys sort of ran away, and it gave me an opportunity to start laying down some fire and killing them as they ran. Some pretty high tier stuff. But then I noticed the unit of enemy archers over at the back, and another treb, although it wasn't for me, I just panicked a little bit. It was close enough to worry me. Yeah, there was a group of archers there at the back, which enabled me to kind of get some shots from over a long distance and crack up quite a few kills. And basically now the unit's almost just auto-firing, because seeing my marker there on the left, and it's just shooting at guys kind of over on the right, because they're the nearest available target to the marker within reason. So they're just sort of blasting away at things. Certainly not a bad thing. There's not enough enemies now to push that doorway, so we're just sort of killing stuff as it runs and retreats. But it looks like they're starting to get a few of their siege towers up now, so I'm starting to come conscious a little bit of some of that, seeing if maybe I want to think about going over there. I kind of wondered if these guys were going to come around that corner or not, but then I'm thinking, okay, it's time to perhaps redeploy now. Let's see what we can do to start to apply some pressure on these guys trying to come over the middle tower. Sometimes I have a little bit of a hard time on this map whether I want to pull back over the wall, because there's obviously another level of wall behind us for the final base cap. And it's quite easy and quite a good spot sometimes to go on that wall and just shoot down. But you probably get a proportionally higher hit rate shooting from down on the floor, you know, because you can land in shots much easier. But of course it's more risky because enemy can get to you quite easily. So anyway, so as we come down here, I see this group of enemy archers coming up the wooden bridge. I was trying to get some shots on them. They didn't auto-lock on initially. They had a little bit of a hard time, but there we go. They've got the target running now, and they track them as they run. You can see the arrow fire adjusting as the enemy archer unit turns around. Fortunately, don't get them all, but we got a good couple of them. We got 5 or 6 of them as they sort of ran up and down that bridge. And they're the only archer unit, these longbows, that tracks like that, rather than have to continually manually adjusting your focus fire. And the tracking actually works quite nicely. It's really quite an impressive feature. And yeah, it's one of the 2 features between that and the range. That's what makes the longbows a viable unit. If they didn't have that, auto tracking, one focus fire thing, then I think that'd be a really bad unit. I think it would really be to their detriment. So I was going to pull back inside. We're about out of ammo soon anyway. A few little bit of fighting going on over there. I couldn't quite see what was there, so I just sort of threw a few arrows over that way, and then I decided to pull back in. I do find we tend to get quite a lot of damage with these guys over kills, particularly when you're shooting into groups of high tier units. You know, and you're hitting with that high penetration, and you can hit for 1,000, 1,200, something like that. You know, that's quite effective. Then being able to try and hit that like a few times as an enemy's running past a target, I find to be quite an effective way of dealing with it. But you often don't get kills because of it, so it's kind of a mixed bag, I guess. So obviously we've now resupplied and still along this top wall. I'm just sort of looking for opportunities. I see some guys starting to look over the edge of this tower, and it's an enemy archer unit by the looks of it, so it's a perfect opportunity for me. But just by sitting back a little bit from the edge of this wall, I seem to get the unit to arc their shots a little bit better, and we're starting to throw some shots in and starting to rack up some kills. I'm not quite sure what they're shooting at. I think it could be another unit of longbows, which is why they're a little bit more resilient. Got that little bit more health than Namkhans, but still, I mean, look at how many kills we're getting on them. Quite quickly racking up the kills on them, up to 60. You know, that is an expensive enemy unit we're dealing with, and actually being able to deal with enemy archers is a really important ability. So I'm actually getting a little bit nervous now at this point. If you see the end supply point's being captured, and I thought I caught a glimpse of an enemy unit coming over, when it actually in fact turned out to be a friendly unit. So it was a little bit of a panic for no cause, but on reflection, as I nearly went back, I thought, oh, well, you know, it was a friendly unit this time, but something still captured that end supply point along the end of that wall, and, you know, I'm feeling a little bit nervous. What is it going to be coming? We haven't got an awful lot here, you know, and it's not going to take very long for someone to get over that ramp in the wall and get onto this supply point, you know, before they're kind of on you and killing you. So you've got to kind of be ready to make a, you know, fight or flight pretty quickly in this. But since it hasn't turned up yet, I'm still trying to look for opportunities. Seems like there's a bit of a gap there, so I was kind of throwing stuff a bit down there. I quite like this section of the wall. I'm actually a bit too far out now to try and get angles down this staircase. But in the normal situation, if you're where those Namkhans are there on the right, with that shortbow player, you're pretty much Treb safe, because the Trebs are basically directly in front of that staircase going ahead, and they can't kind of hit this corner very clearly. Or at least you're pretty safe. You know, still move if they start shooting at you, but you should be better than most spots. It's not a bad spot for throwing down some arrows. Anyway, we're still racking up kills. I'm not entirely sure what we're killing down there. Maybe there's some lighter units, maybe some high tier stuff. It's really kind of hard to say. All hidden in the shrubbery. Again, oh, here comes the Trebs. But hit on this cannon. One of the benefits of that focus fire, where they actually target units, just perfect for this sort of situation where they can shoot down like that. So I'm kind of looking for more opportunities. Doesn't seem like anything's come down from the right like I thought it might do. I was kind of expecting it to do, but I noticed something is coming up the ladders over the back there. Again, can't really tell what it is, can you? Maybe we should make this a competition. Spot the unit. It seems to be what this game is about. This one with these longbows. You're shooting from such a long way away. I just can't really see what it is. Not dying super fast, but then it was taking fairly big chunks of damage. Oh, one of them died. But then if you notice, did you see the enemy hero who's just coming over the ramp? Something glimpsed on the head there. So that's kind of made me nervous. Then this allied unit spawns in these Imperial Pike Guard. Okay, now we kind of have a choice. Before it was a definitive run in the face of danger. Now we've got all these guys here. I'm not so sure now. We have got the Namkhans, and if these Imperial Pikes time their advance correctly, really a reasonable shot. Although there's a lot of stuff coming. I'm starting to get really nervous, but I think while I'm in for it now, come on Evo, take a brave pill, get stuck in. Wanted to make sure that longsword didn't go to the charging through our unit. He goes down. We immediately, our longbows kill another enemy hero. So that's 2 enemy heroes dead already. And yeah, by this point, by the time those Fortebraccios turned up, I'm smiling because I know we've got this one. I was tempted to drag the unit a little bit further back in, but then I kind of decided against it. Maybe I should have done, because we get hit by that Scorpio, unfortunately, which burns a lot of the unit, and they get dangerously low on health. Look at that unit. Look at my unit health in the bottom. But thankfully they survive. This musket nearly gets away, and last, shinked, and he's dead. Nice. So we got 3 hero kills, quite a good chunk of unit kills, you know, 15, 20 unit kills. In that sort of situation, I think the Namkhans are the archer to have. In that close range, not only have you got less to lose, you're more prepared to stick. I think the DPS of Namkhans in that sort of spot situation where no one's missing very close range is higher, because the Namkhans still hit hard, plus they have the bleed, plus they're firing a lot faster than the longbows, plus they're a bigger stack unit as well. So in that sort of situation, the longbows aren't really so great. And you'll also kind of get it on if you get an enemy hero comes close to you. Longbows, while they have the damage, their aim time is really long. So if an enemy hero moves around quite a bit, they actually have a really hard time getting hit. So they're really not that effective against dealing anything at close range. So you really want to be trying to maintain that range from enemy units, because that's where these guys kind of excel. Well, at least that's been my experience of them so far. So, with that kind of immediate threat dealt with, I'm sort of thinking, what else have we got to deal with now? A little group of enemy archers I noticed over there, which kind of look juicy. You see, again, the unit is tracking them as they run back towards the staircase, which is nice, which means we can get extra kills on them as they continue to run. So I had to change my angle. I try and, or have been trying to move around fairly regularly, just so the fire is coming from different directions. It makes it harder for trebs to land on you. Makes it harder for enemy archers to fire back, because I mean an enemy longbow player could be getting into position with his longbows, and it only takes a couple of seconds for him to really wipe out half my unit, so you do have to be careful. Then as we finished off the rest of those archers, just took us over 100 kills, decided to just adjust my angle slightly and kind of shoot down into that bigger fight down there. But then as I see there's kind of a bit of stuff on the end of that supply point, you see it on the minimap, wasn't quite sure what was going on. I thought I saw something climbing up the ladders, so I thought, danger, let's get back over here a little bit, kind of see what's going on. We still have these fortebrachos on the point, so I'm not super concerned, but easy to get caught out with these guys, and I have been. There's many games I have just sort of been caught out early on in the game, 10 kills in, and you get yourself wiped out. I think another good question, probably with all archers, but these guys probably more than any others, is, are you really contributing enough? And I think that's still a question now. I could be down there with a sword unit actively defending that cap point, but instead I have to be on this wall sort of micromanaging the unit. And with the trebs and the amount of stuff moving about the walls and stuff, you can't really just stick them up here and walk down, I don't think. And have them live very long. So I think that really brings up the question of, is it worth it? Particularly as a melee hero, as a glaive, where I should be sort of getting stuck in on enemy units, I often feel kind of guilty just stood at the back, targeting people with my archers, and you're often not doing all that much to defend points, and I'm not sure that's necessarily a good thing. I don't have an answer to that. Maybe that's something you guys can answer in the comments. Do you think me playing like this is a good thing, or is it kind of bad? I think it's kind of a tough one. You're obviously contributing quite a chunk of damage, but if everyone plays archers, then all of a sudden everyone, you lose all the points very quickly. So I'm often the melee player, so it feels a bit strange being the archer. I guess I would be more comfortable if I was a bow hero and I felt like I could be contributing my damage as a hero as well. So I'm not sure what the answer to that is. I thought we were getting treb then, but I think it was actually they were shooting the wall above. I couldn't quite see where it's coming from, so I sort of panicked. I thought there was quite a lot of stuff starting to come towards the gateway and the B point was going to be lost there, so I started to pull back inside. I thought, well, I'll head back up top. In reality, those Kashyyyks just charge out and pretty much just wipe everything on the map at this point. So I could have actually stayed at the bottom of that thing. I was a little bit too timid, pulled back up when I should have actually stayed out there. Look at those Kashyyyks just clearing out everything on the point. Kind of ridiculous. But I'm just kind of looking for targets now from up here. A couple of enemy archers up there. At this point, kind of wish I'd just stayed out. But might as well try and get some kills on these enemy archers here at the back. You can see kind of how much damage these guys do against the enemy archers. You're hitting sort of 3 or 4 kills per volley. It's so easy to rack up the damage really, really quickly against those guys. Makes them really quite an effective unit. Yeah, you can see he's still building that up. Still getting the kills. These fortebrachos come forwards. I think I'll start to change my fire on them again shortly. Yeah, thinking maybe we can get a bit of damage on them. Kind of an example of what I was talking about earlier. We hit really hard. What's that, 1300? And all our shots are sort of around the 1500 mark unless we're critting, in which case it's higher. We get some kills, but you're not racking up kills super quickly on a unit like that. But that's because the rate of fire is really so low. Obviously now it looked like we've got the advantage again. I thought, come on, stop being such a coward, Evo. Let's go back out, try and get a bit aggressive with these guys. See if we can see a bit closer at what sort of damage values we're getting with our hits and stuff like that. Kind of see how they perform a little bit closer range. Even though I have just been saying that you should be keeping them at range. By this point I was confident we were going to win because the enemy was so down on troops. I thought let's just be a bit rash, see what we can hit. Because we're actually starting to clear them out off the top now, so we can actually start to run around a little bit more freely. Of course, we still need to watch out for trebs and stuff because they're still pretty viable, as we'll find out very shortly. But as we clear this top point, I'm thinking maybe we can shoot down on some enemy archers below. And we get a few nice examples here of kind of how the damage works. But equally how if you don't have the range, then it's not such a good fight. So here we come down, this group of Namkhans basically on the bottom of these steps. We get hit, it's good damage initially, but as soon as those Namkhans start firing back, look how quickly we stack up damage. Fairly quick in pulling the unit out, so we managed to save a good chunk of it. But how easy it is to lose a unit in a fight like that, it can go super quick, because remember, you don't really out-damage the Namkhans. When you're both facing off against each other, the Namkhans probably do more, or at least the same amount of damage as you. You get the damage by pulling range, by being out range of the enemy archer units, like these guys down there. But I didn't see the Treb coming, did I? After all I said about being alert to the Trebs, paying attention, I kind of tunnel vision there. Lost chunk of the unit, what was left. Still got 10 left though. Can actually still do a chunk of damage with these 10. And I've had a little bit of a look what was going on. I've had a few pop shots at those guys on the ladder. Thought, come on. How many Trebs can they possibly have left? So I start to move myself back up again, trying to hunt more enemy archers. That's kind of what I'm after. And look, we're at maximum range now. Look at those enemy Namkhans right at the very back. We're way out of their range, but we're still able to get shots in. Unfortunately, another little group of enemy Namkhans from another angle trying to get shots in on us. And you see those guys on the separate siege tower down there. I then couldn't quite get my guys to shoot an arching shot. They just wanted to shoot down. I thought maybe if I pull a little bit of range on them at max range, they may switch to more of like an overarching fire shot. But they just didn't want to. They just wanted to shoot the floor. So, so in the end, I had to kind of move back round. But thankfully, that enemy Namkhan player obviously got distracted shooting something else, and it kind of gave me an opportunity. Even with only 10 people left in the unit, they still decimate enemy units of archers. Particularly on this sort of shoot like this, they can shoot direct, they don't miss. Every arrow is finding its mark, and we're hitting like 2k, if we crit it's 3k, and that's 1 arrow, 1 kill. And yeah, look at that, the enemy unit of Namkhans pretty much gone straight away. Such an easy kill in that sort of situation. And that signs game, set and match. So hopefully that gives you a little bit of an idea of what the Vassal Longbows are like. Quite an interesting unit. Whether they're better than Namkhans, I don't think it's really comparable. They are the ultimate anti-archer unit, and I think at that they excel really well. I think trying to use them at close range, they don't really work because that DPS is so low. And so really you've got to be sort of picking and selecting your targets quite carefully. Anyway, hopefully you've enjoyed the video. Hopefully I'll see you all on stream now. And yeah, thanks for watching guys, and I shall see you all on the next video.